Becky, let me say this. I have not talked to Kirsten Sinema, who's a very good friend of mine, about this. She's been talking, obviously, to the president, president's people, as well as the majority leader in the Senate. So I don't know specifically, but what I believe is what she said is she doesn't want to see tax rates go up. That does not mean that the money people pay in taxes is not increased. Now, what do I mean by that? Frankly, when you take some of the richest people in America who pay no taxes, they don't do it because the rate is X, Y, or Z. And they do it because the loopholes or tax preference items, whatever you want to call it, they utilize. Obviously, if they're in law, they utilize it. Every American would do that. But having said that, you don't have to change the rates. You may have to change what's covered, how you assess taxes that are due without raising the rates. I think that's frankly what she means. But in any event, the president made it very clear last night that we're going to pay for whatever sum is ultimately agreed to. And as you know, that's very flexible. We have as low as 1.5 being mentioned by Senator Manchin, and 3.5 being mentioned by Bernie Sanders. And that's what we marked to in the House. So that figure is still flexible. And once that's decided, and I hope it's decided very, very soon, then we will be able to fill in the blanks on what we want to do with this program. And what we want to do with this program, obviously, is make sure that children and families are on solid footing and that we raise children in a way that they're safe, well-educated, and productive citizens. In addition to that, of course, we want to invest in infrastructure. And we want to take care of climate, and we want to take care of healthcare. In particular, in healthcare, we want to expand the people who are eligible. That's why we want to deal with those individuals who are not covered in their states by Medicaid, and we want to deal with making sure that it is an Affordable Care Act. And by that, we mean we want to bring down the cost of the premiums and copays and deductibles as we did in the rescue plan. We want to have that continued so that everybody will have the security of being covered by health care.
You can't do that on $1.5 trillion. What do you cut? Or do you play with the numbers and say that we're only going to do it for a couple of years?
You can do either or both, obviously, Becky. And I think what is going to happen is that I personally am in the camp of do fewer things and do them well, make sure they work effectively. I think that's good policy. I also happen to think it's good politics. But I think there are obviously a lot of people involved. There's a lot of interest and priorities of different people. So we may have a broader expanse than that. But that has not yet been decided. And you're right. The money will depend upon what you can and cannot do.
Let's go back to how you raise that money again. If you don't raise the flat rates for businesses, if you don't raise the tax rate on the wealthiest individuals, and you try and find other ways to do it, I mean, you're talking about IRS enforcement, but it sounds to me more like you're talking about other things, maybe something like mark to market for people who haven't sold their stock or their securities. If they increase in value, you'd tax them on it anyway, just for holding it.
That's sort of like the property tax.
Except for that, my property isn't going to go up or down by 25 or 30% a year most years. And and again, the property tax is to stay there and to go off of it. If you start doing that, you get to the point where if somebody's held stock and you tax them on a big year where there's 100% gain in the market, what happens the next year when stocks are down 50%?
Becky, obviously that's one of the challenges with that proposal. I don't think that proposal has necessarily been adopted at this point in time. I don't think it has. But my point is at the beginning is most people want to take advantage of all the options that are available under the tax system. Very smart people figure out how you can have a lot of income but don't pay any taxes. That what the president was saying last night is, therefore, some people don't pay their fair share. They get a heck of a value out of roads and bridges and law enforcement and national security defense operations, and the fact that the sea lanes are open and trade can occur. So in other words, they're getting a great advantage out of what government does without paying any of the freight. And that's not fair. That's what is unfair about those taxes. It's Buffett saying, look, I pay a lower rate than my secretary. That's not fair.